Wow. So it's
Wow.
that kind of bar, huh?
Welcome.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
It's Minnesota, but it is hot as
Beep.
stuff here. Yeah.
It's bar, not bear.
Oh, so I should put pants on.
Just don't stand up.
Just
The E is silent.
Thank you.
Beeps.
Better get a long lens.
Oy. Oh my God.
Well, I guess that dovetails nicely into recording environments. And why are they always so damn hot?
This is true.
Yes.
This is true. My booth is precisely 78 degrees right now. And
I believe it.
hey,
Mine is 73 and 45% humidity.
Wow.
I'm 46%.
Oh, that's backwards.
Wow.
Is that backwards to you? It's backwards
No.
to
No,
me.
no.
Look at you.
I'm reading it. He's fancy.
You are
fancy
fancy.
guy.
So fancy. I mean, it's.
You are.
I mean, it is 61 degrees here in the Southwest.
Where are you? Oh, you're in Phoenix.
Phoenix adjacent.
Yeah. I'm in a New York state of mind, just FYI. And
Okay.
yeah, always a New York state of mind.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And California dreaming. So there's that. But yeah, I'm in Phoenix.
Well, I mean, you're closer to the dream, I guess, than your state of
Yeah.
mind.
That's a whole mindset thing. We're going backwards.
Yeah.
So
That was last episode.
it
Oh,
was.
So if
sorry.
you missed it,
was
Yeah.
go back in and listen to that last podcast. It was amazing.
incredible.
But you don't oversell it.
Okay. Tonight's podcast
Aren't
is
we
about
talking about our studio spaces?
Just don't,
Will?
don't fire at me.
Studio space? Booths?
Oh, right.
we
Yes.
are
Environment.
Yes, I said
studio
that.
spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because why are they
Now,
always so hot?
you've got a whisper
I
room,
do.
right? You've got a
I
whisper room.
whisper in this room.
I have an LA vocal booth.
I can also scream in this room and not wake up the family upstairs.
It's a
Which is
it's a screen
Which is
room
why I
also.
have this, because before this, I had a blanket fort. It was just a nice little frame made out of PVC, and I had really nice sound blankets from Producer's Choice sound blankets from Vocal Booth to Go. And
Nice.
they are awesome. It sounded so good in there,
Nice.
but it doesn't block any noise in or out. It just blocks, reverberation.
Sure.
Mhm.
It just makes the room sound nice.
Right. I'm already in a very quiet room that is not treated at all, which eventually I'll get to.
It sounds very nice.
It sounds terrible out there otherwise, but in that little blanket fort,
That's
it
what I
sounded
said.
wonderful because it killed all the reverb entirely. But if the TV was on upstairs or the gas fireplace was on upstairs, I could hear the fan. If the furnace came on, I could hear that, or if I was auditioning late at night and my kid was asleep, well, I can't get very loud. So I found this on eBay
Mm-hmm.
for $3,000 and I bought it.
That's 3,000 to the rest of the world.
Yes, $3,000 US, which brand new, I think it's like 10,000.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
a steal of a deal.
And it's just the single wall, but my whole goal was just to block my sound from getting out so that I could audition at
Sure.
night and not drive everybody
Right. You
crazy.
don't want to disturb people in the middle of the night.
Because the room is already quiet, so I didn't need to block out noise. I didn't need to block out like the leaf blower outside.
Lucky.
Wasn't an issue.
Mhm.
Well, I'm in a basement,
Well, and you
So-
also have how many acres?
2.5.
There you go.
But my neighbors directly to my, what is that, the east,
Unless
are kind of loud.
unless you're in the middle of the
Yeah,
2.5
that's true.
acres.
Well, I am in the middle, pretty more or less. But the neighbors, I mean, it's like off by maybe 50 feet. The neighbors to my east are loud. And the kids have moved away, so they're not as bad as they were, but there were several years where they were just like, working on dirt bikes and go-karts and trucks and whatever. And so they'd be out there revving the engine and ripping around their lawn or,
Sure.
Good
blasting
times.
the stereo or whatever.
Good
Yeah,
times.
It's wonderful.
All the things that really affect your sound.
So there is a neighbor somewhere on the street that occasionally will drive by. It's obviously a teenager with the subwoofers going full blast. And I can still hear that in the booth.
Mm.
And you want to yell, what is it, the 70s?
No, I can't. I can't get too bent out of shape because that was me once.
Yeah,
You know?
that's what I'm talking about.
So, yeah. So I bought this on eBay from a seller in
Tell me more.
Missouri. And
Missouri.
on Missouri.
Is that the way you say it?
I did grow up. That's how my dad said it.
And he was like just outside of St. Louis, which is 10 hours drive from here. And on New Year's Day, actually, I think maybe it was the second that I picked it up because I left early in the morning, like 2 or 3 a.m. and drove straight through.
Oh my
to get
goodness.
there at whatever the time
Yikes.
window he said he was going to be available was. I drove down there, I picked it up, I turned around and I drove back.
Oh my goodness.
20 hours round trip.
Yee,
I stopped
Lord.
for like an hour nap at one point on the way back, but that was it. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I didn't set it up until like October.
What?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Dang. All right.
But gotta steal.
Okay.
Steal
did.
the
Better
deal on it.
man than me.
And then I was promptly super disappointed with the sound as soon as I set it up.
That's what they say.
Because the
They're good
sound-
until you forget
Yeah,
them.
the sound in my little blanket fort was so clean. It was so
Really?
good. Yeah. Yeah, it was wonderful.
That's crazy.
And then I came in here and was like, it sounds like crap. And I tried foam. Well, so when I first got in, I was like, no, this isn't gonna work. It was just so bad. So I put up foam. I ordered like $500 of foam and covered every square inch. I was like, well,
Yes.
no, that didn't help. A little bit, but not enough. So then I ordered rock wool because I looked at the specs and the performance at certain frequencies of rock wool is actually a little bit better than fiberglass.
Are you saying rock wool? Like W
Rock
O
wool,
O?
yes.
Okay.
WOOL.
Yes.
It's actually a mineral that is spun
Yes.
like wool,
Okay.
and then they press it into bats, just like fiberglass
It's
insulation.
amazing.
Interesting. Okay.
But it's
I never
made
heard
out
of
of
it
rock.
before. All right.
Yeah, it's
Really?
It's I don't think it's fireproof, but it's very highly fire
Don't
retardant.
try to test it.
Yes. Resistant.
There you go.
Yeah, because
Yes,
it's rock, but it's
Yeah.
also marketed specifically as sound deadening insulation.
I've never heard of it, but now
Yeah,
I'm like
and-
intrigued.
Really?
I'm
Yeah.
intrigued.
It's called Safe and Sound because it's fireproof and soundproof.
Okay.
Basically.
Those panels behind me you see are 4-inch thick rock wool panels.
Okay.
There you go. So I went with the semi-rigid stuff, which I think they put on the outside of houses.
Okay.
Interestingly,
Okay.
but that way I was able to just pressure fit it up into the ceiling. So I've got the ceiling
Sure.
covered, I've got this wall covered, and I've got the back wall covered, floor to ceiling everywhere. This wall is not, but that's where the door is. So in front of the
Right.
door, and then the wall back here behind the screen is all foam, and I've got bass traps and stuff. Sounds pretty good.
And now, how do you feel?
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not.
No,
It's
it sounds
still not as
fine.
good as the blanket fort was.
What? I don't believe that. I do not believe that.
Seriously,
That's crazy.
Seriously,
No.
yes.
No. Don't believe it.
Well, here's why. Because this is a small enclosed
me.
space.
Mhm.
I'm literally inside a box. So it sounds like I'm inside a box because I am. I can EQ that out, and I do. In fact, I've got some EQ built into my interface that dials it down a little bit, a little notch right where it needs to be to cut that little bit out.
That's another podcast.
It's a trade-off, right? Because
Yeehaw.
because I'm now able to, in the middle of the night, scream as loud as I possibly can, and you can't hear me outside this room.
That's
Like in
impressive.
In the room outside the booth, you could hear me, but outside
Okay.
the room, you can't.
Right.
Same. I was like, wait.
Huh.
If someone is standing in the room, because I have an LA
Yeah.
vocal booth, you can definitely hear outside the room. It's like,
Oh, yeah, for sure. Somebody
Yeah.
could stand outside the door and just have a conversation at a normal
Sure.
volume with me, which is bizarre, but
right. Okay. I just need
Yeah.
to.
so
Are you name dropping
Maybe.
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 LA vocal booth?
I mean, he
vocal
said
booth.
whisper
Okay.
room. So, but
I
no,
mean,
it,
Yeah.
technically, Al said whisper room.
I did.
But-
I said
Yes, you whispered it.
Oh,
But
indeed.
Victoria's on the
I did.
poster.
I am on the poster.
She's the poster child of the LA.
Get
I am.
out
You
of
didn't see it?
here.
I'm on their poster. Yeah. Because I can say, honestly, this was something relative. I think I've had this now for, has it been almost a year to the date? Yeah, because I bought this for my birthday last year. Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
So it's been a year and a few days.
A few days, yeah. So it was pretty,
Yeah.
really made a big difference because I was working out of my closet with lots of, I actually used, so this is the door, right? But
Behold, the door.
but these are those
Blackout curtains?
that. But this
Yes.
actually really thick.
Those work amazing.
They really do. And then I've got foam
Yeah.
and these panels with cheetah, like I like animal prints, if nobody knows that. But it made a huge difference in the quality of audio. But it was an investment. I got mine for a little bit like double of what Will paid. But considering I didn't make that investment right away, I think that made me feel better about when I did get it. And then I did make that money back in terms of how much I spent on it. And then, the ROI has been worth it. Although for this year, but actually, no, I got it 2 years ago, right? What year is this? I don't even know.
Going back in time, folks, 2023 was a year where everybody's business went,
Right? Yeah. So actually, I've had this now 2 years, I think. Yeah. So sorry, I don't do math. You're welcome. But I
was going to say, because you had it the first time that we connected online,
right,
which was before your birthday.
Correct. So I've had it for 2 years.
Not a long time before your birthday, but
the pre-podcast days.
So 2 years ago.
In the before time.
In the before time.
Yes.
But it does make a big difference. But of course, having that right microphone, which is another podcast, but the whole environment, it plays into it. Because I didn't always used to have this curtain up behind me, but I worked with a couple of different audio engineers that said, you might want to put something back there because, it's a hard surface. It's the glass and the door.
Right.
So that's why I added this back here. And sometimes I'm able to do on-camera auditions right here. I don't have to worry about the sound. And I can change the backdrop to a different color or whatever. So that works.
Sure. It doesn't have to be a panel or foam behind you. Just something to stop the reflection.
Indeed.
Sure.
And
mine, when we moved into the house, we moved here back to Minnesota about 4 years ago. Lucky enough to find the house had an A-frame garage or A-frame attic over the garage with attic access through one of the bedrooms. I'm in the bedroom. This is where I do the editing, 2 screens, computers, monitors. The access, I had a contractor come in, my brother from New Orleans. He came up and built me an 8x7 studio, A-frame. So it's got the uneven walls. It's single 5/8 sheetrock on outer. Then it's got the 4 inches of rock wool and then double offset sheetrock on the inside. And the only thing I need to do now is I want to double up the floor and do rock wool floor because I'm above the garage.
Oh, sure.
But so I did the 703 panels on the inside, so it's 1.5 inch thick. And eventually you're going to get to see that. But I really, really like it, the way it sounds in there.
Well, it's really nice. It looks like you've got a really large open space, but it doesn't sound vacant. Like when I'm listening to your voice now.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. But it doesn't, usually when I see some folks that, have you guys ever been on like a workshop or doing some sort of call and we're all supposed to be professional voice actors and then you hear someone who sounds like this, what? Huh? And you're like, what is wrong with your sound? And
somebody's in their kitchen with granite countertops.
Right, or in their bathroom and you can hear like the reflect, the reverb.
The toilet running.
What is happening? Yes, you're a professional.
Yeah, what's going on?
But I think it depends on what.
Well, I've got
Well, so there's the interesting thing, though.
Mhm.
The
Here we go.
larger spaces are actually easier to treat.
What?
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, because all you really are doing is knocking down the reflections.
Mm.
Whereas in a smaller space, you're knocking down reflections, but you also have to worry about
The boxiness, right?
the boxiness and the compound waves, or I forget what it's called, but the sound builds up in the corners and stuff.
Sure.
And especially if you have
Bass
a lower
traps.
voice like I do.
What?
Yeah.
I can't even do
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. When I set up that one, and I'm throwing a name out there. Everybody knows George the Tech.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I did videos, and I watched his videos, and they did the reflective with the mirror test.
Yep.
And I mean, spot on.
Yep.
Dead nuts on.
Do you know that one, Victoria? The mirror thing?
No.
You don't know?
No.
So the way
I'm
so
trying
the way that
not
you
to look
treat
at Al sometimes because it looks like he's just sitting there naked in his big studio.
Who's to say I'm not?
with his beautiful mane of curly locks.
Yes. So like
Yes.
So no, what was the movie reference or pop culture reference that I missed here?
It's not. Nope. It's a technical reference. So, so the mirror
It's
trick.
a real thing. Yeah.
If you're trying to treat a recording space, or really a mixing space is where it's usually used,
Mm-hmm.
you run a mirror along the wall until you see the reflection of. Well, you have somebody else do it while you're sitting in your spot. Run a mirror along the wall until you see the
About the
reflection
height
of the
of your mic.
speaker.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, the mic too, but for speaker, usually it's for mixing. So where you see the speaker, right? So you're looking, you're sitting where you're going to sit, and you turn and you look, and somebody runs the mirror along the wall, and wherever you see the reflection of your speaker, you put a little mark there, and that's where a panel needs to go. And the same thing on the ceiling, and the same thing on the back wall, and everywhere, right? So you find all the reflection points that from where you're sitting when you're mixing at that mixing desk, a reflection would bounce off and come back and hit you, and you put sound absorption there. So that the spot that you're sitting when you're mixing at that mixing desk sounds perfect. And the same would
eliminating having to foam up the whole building.
Right. And the same would work for a mic. Instead of looking at the speakers, you look at the mic.
Yep.
Okay.
And
of
so
course,
it's
I'm giggling thinking
easier.
about if there would be a mirror now, what will we actually see of Al?
Yeah, let's not put the mirror under the desk.
Here we go. Here we go.
So many things.
That's it. Next time I'm wearing clothes. You've made me mad.
I am completely red. This is hilarious. Okay, thank you.
So yeah,
also
larger spaces are easier to treat and don't inherently sound boxy.
That's incredible. All right.
So,
Also, note to self for anyone putting this, prepare to spend a little money. Don't try to cheap out. It can be done inexpensively with moving blankets.
And your closet. You can actually, I mean, I lived in Manhattan, like Upper West Side, and it was very busy. It was right off Columbus Avenue where NYPD had a precinct nearby as well as the FDNY. They were just at the next block. So
you should have moved on up to the east side.
I moved from the east side. You got it.
That's the one.
I was moving on up. But I actually came from the east side, went over to the west side. It's a whole thing. But anywho, the whole idea.
To a much nicer apartment.
Indeed. Yeah. But still going back to the east side eventually. Not that I'm counting any times, but 2029. Anyway, the idea that you can use a closet and effectively, especially in places where you can't do the whole booth thing, and they're like, especially in a lot of urban settings.
Or if you're a renter.
Or if you're right.
Oh,
you just,
if you're a renter. And you're not handy with repair work when you leave.
Or you just can't put the whole, like for this booth that I have now, I don't think, I'm not sure. I would have to check with the, I'd have to check with the building if it's okay because of the weight of it, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're not living in a ground floor apartment, is it okay to have something of this weight? Not gonna, don't just put it in there and we'll find out later.
Don't put it next to the waterbed.
Right. I was going to say the same thing. Don't put it in the same room as the waterbed.
Perfect.
So yeah, there's that. But closets do work great. And I've worked on promos and everything else from my closet in New York.
Sure.
So it's possible.
Closets are great places.
Mhm.
But if you have to do any work to it, don't try to cheap out.
Correct.
No, definitely
Because
not.
you can make more of a mess with the way your room sounds.
And can we just quickly say, in many ways, you get what you pay for when it comes to a lot of these things. Yes, there are cheaper ways to do it. That's true. Thank you.
I will go even a step further and say, next to coaching and, learning how to act, the most important part of your vocal chain is your environment. It's more important than your microphone. It's more important than your interface. It's more important than any software plugins that you think you might want. Your environment is the most important thing. Period.
Oh yeah, don't think you're going to fix it with plugins. It's the environment.
I mean, I used to say it was talent, tech, and marketing, right? And not necessarily in that order. Because tech in a way is a little bit of all of it together, right? It's your environment, it's your mic, it's your interface, it's all the things. But really that environment part, honestly, it's made a huge difference for me personally once I jumped. But I don't think everybody needs to do that right away.
Oh, heck no.
Right.
Well, that's where people fall apart. I mean, that's where the over-investing in your business, and that's what it is.
Yep.
It happens. And that's why Will possibly could have gotten his great deal, because someone overstepped and all of a sudden it wasn't what they thought. That may have not been the situation, but I'm sure if you look, you're going to find whisper rooms or LA vocal booths on sale because someone just jumped out there and spent $5,000, $6,000 on a booth.
10, 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially
and
Studio
microphones
Bricks
and everything else.
Studio
and then they decided,
Bricks.
This isn't
Studio
for me.
Bricks.
This is too hard. Or they didn't realize that, you actually have to get training.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so another podcast. Oh my gosh, the training part.
Yeah.
I mean, we can highlight it right now. Like
the order of things.
The order of operations. Yes. If you're new, first, get training. Second, get a good environment. And that can be as simple as a PVC frame with some moving blankets, because it really does sound really good. I know some people who are doing tons of work with just that. And they're
booking all the time?
All the time. Literally every day. Multiple jobs a day. Yeah. Okay. Training. Environment. More training.
Training never stops, kids.
Marketing.
Your first, microphone, preferably with an interface. But if you're on a tight budget, there's actually a few USB mics that are decent. And a DAW and, whatever. There's free ones, there's paid ones, there's subscription ones. Lots of choices.
All the things.
Ultimately, whatever works best for you is the best tool, period. I don't care what anybody else says. They all do the same thing.
Correct.
Next.
That's another podcast, the DAW, but
yes.
They say whichever one you feel more comfortable using is the one to use.
Let's see. Training.
Yes, training again.
A better mic.
But wait, training. I almost said twaining.
Yes.
That's good.
More twaining. More twaining. And more twaining.
Twains.
Ad infinitum, forever training.
Yes.
Because you will never know everything. Things always change. And
one day there won't be the millennium ew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So disgusting.
Wouldn't it be funny if, like, the big thing next year, or I guess this year, is the big announcer read, the big radio voice that everybody worked so hard to get rid of?
It would be funny.
I've seen a few.
I've seen a few too.
Breakdowns lately. They are asking for that.
I've seen a few too,
or
but I feel like they're kind of
disguised under.
I feel
big energy.
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of poking fun at the sound a little bit, though.
Sure.
They still need it.
Maybe that's just the way that they reintroduce it. Like, let's introduce this as sort of a funny thing. And then suddenly That's what you're hearing everywhere.
It's
and
the
next thing you
thing.
know, in a world.
It's gold. It's gold.
Get it now while you can.
That's right.
Yes. Everything will be the TikTok voice.
Oh, no. No.
No.
So, no, it's not going to that, Will. No.
I
Don't put that in
I
the
can't
universe.
be around that level of chipper 24/7 or I'll want to
But why
stab
not?
someone.
Yeah.
I have to have a little disappointment to equalize my day.
You know what, though? We should talk about AI later and another podcast.
Another podcast.
Another podcast.
Technically, that's text to speech, not AI, but they're kind of related.
Yeah. She had to record it at some point.
Cousin.
The dirty step cousin.
Redheaded stepchild. We're
dirty
really offending redheads in this episode, aren't we?
I mean, we have, right? Totally.
Sorry,
You're welcome.
redheads.
It's all good. All good.
We love everybody.
I don't know if we're
as much as anybody.
Putting them. Sling blade. That was my best. That was my worst sling blade.
I reckon I ain't got no reason to kill nobody.
That I remember.
I do like them French fried potatoes.
See here, let me drag this chair across the floor for you.
Please don't stand up, Al. Please do not stand up. Oh, Lord. And the hat's coming off. Okay, it's just the hat, folks.
All right.
Just the hat. Okay.
Now I'm better.
Okay.
Let's go!
Don't invest until you're ready.
That is so good, Victoria.
You're welcome. That's what he said.
Yeah. I'm just going to piggyback on Victoria and
that's what he said.
See what I did there? Learn everything you can. Watch a lot of videos. You know, there's secrets out there that may change. You may have a room that sounds great. Don't screw it up.
Yep. On that note, videos, there's plenty of videos on how to make sound panels. It's really not hard, even if you are not mechanically inclined. It's very little more than just screwing in a couple screws. Yeah, I know. That's what he said. I'm going to disagree, though, in terms of the don't invest until you're ready thing, because the environment is so important. If you're trying to pursue any kind of work, you need to get that right. If you're just coaching, then whatever. If you haven't started pursuing work yet.
But if you're investing thousands of dollars at the onset,
I'm not suggesting
go
that. I'm not suggesting you invest thousands.
Okay.
I would absolutely tell anybody who has a remotely quiet space already to go with a blanket fort of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, build it out of 2x4s, build it out of PVC pipe, drape it over some couches or something.
You're not disagreeing with me then. You're agreeing with me, saying
well,
don't.
I'm saying it's different.
You just wanted to disagree, but that's fine.
See, I have this reputation of being negative. I'm not negative.
What?
I just care.
What? Who is this guy?
I don't know. He said he cares.
I do. I care so much that people think I'm negative.
He said he's not being negative.
See? I think I'm negative. I'm not negative. I actually care. And so it offends me when people do things stupid. There.
And there he is. And he's back.
Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back.